So I grew up in the Eastern Cape, um, town Mthatha under Inqeleni, Dingmadlamini, Uzizi, Fakade, Solanga, village, honestly, where I come from. And, it was just a beautiful upbringing with a large family, extended family. But I have four other sisters. I'm a twin. And I always had big ambitions, guys. I loved TV. Like, I really loved TV. So I remember, like, my earliest memory, I remember when I graduated from grade R. Remember, Kuko, like, my graduations from grade R, I was the only person who said that I wanted to be a model. And everyone else was like, what? What's a model? What is that? But I really like wanted to be that because I'd watched TV for so long, and for me it was like, oh, the world is so big and I want to explore that. Grew up, went to educate private school, then in Mbuke and St. James and Kofimvaba. Then finally went to UCT.
Just one. Why did you change schools?
So it's okay. So I changed schools. So I went to a private school first, and then Imbuke JSS was a public school. So my parents were experiencing, a financial crisis of sorts. And then we had to change schools. But then that transition, it was fine, for my twin sister and myself and my younger sister. So that's why I changed schools, because the financial situation had changed. So just to give a bit of like a background, like my dad, teacher by profession, also politician. My mom, past grade 12, was a clerk for the Department of Education, but then decided to go into entrepreneurship. And then at some point, it just wasn't working out. And then they experienced a bit of like a financial difficulty. And that's why we changed. Yeah. So it was, how twins are. I actually don't know how to describe the relationship. It's like normal, like your twins, your siblings, and you go through life together. But obviously my twin sister and I were very different, because she was more like mathematically physics inclined, and I was more of like a humanities person. So I was more into like history and the arts, because I like to write. Yeah, like we were different in that type of way, but we were always together. So I think going into varsity, but also besides that, when we went into high school, I was so eager to separate and find my identity, like you want to get to know yourself and what you like and all of those things. Yeah.
You never follow my phone?
No. I'm gonna say yes, but like no. Definitely no. Yeah. Oh, high school. St. James is like a Catholic high school. Everyone cuts their hair. So the boys and the girls, you all look the same. Which I think is a great thing, especially living in a elitist classes society. What you want to focus on is the education, and you don't want to like differentiate or like not even a differentiation type of thing, but like, causing a divide among students and stuff. So it was pretty chilled in that sense because we are all the same. Um, I knew from the go before even going into high school because I asked my parents. I was like, "Oh, there's this school that I want to go to. It's called St. John's, which is another Catholic like high school in Tata." I said, I want to go here because I want to pursue law or history. So I want to go into like the history stream and do maths lit, ne? And then my parents were like, definitely no, there's no such thing. You're going to that Catholic school. All my other sisters had went to. So it's like me and my sisters went to the same high school, basically. Yeah, well. And I couldn't argue with that. And in and that December, I remember very well, grade 9 December, I dyed my hair red, and my and my dad hated it. He was like, wash it off, and I was like, I can't. Like I washed it off. Like I tried to so many times. I even put like, what do you call this, mayonnaise on my head. Because like, no, it's a treatment of sorts, right? Eggs and stuff. And it wouldn't wash off. My hair was red. And my dad was like, yeah, you're definitely cutting that off. You're going to Catholic school and stuff, And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you can't really argue with your parents at the end of the day. Yeah, well. So we didn't do the application process for ourselves. My sister Utasha applied for my twin sister and myself. I think we went through the application process through her, of course. And then in January, right, after 2014 matriculation, my twin sister had already been like accepted to Wits. And I was like, okay, you're going to Wits, got a bursary, and then it was like, okay, there's me. And I had been accepted at NMU. I don't remember for what. But I was like, I don't really want to go. Got a bursary of sorts because of my like results. And then my sister calls me and she's like, no, you got accepted on a conditional offer for UCT. And I was like, oh, okay. But I had already like booked a ticket for NMU and I had accepted the offer. So now my parents are like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, okay, if you don't know, then you can take a year off. And I'm like, yeah, but if I take a year off, then it means I have to cook, clean, and do everything else around the house. Like, and I'm not getting paid for it or anything like that. So I was like, no, not happening, right? So we go to the bus station and I've already booked a ticket to go to NMU. I get there, I flip a coin. I flip a coin, and this is me trying to decide between going to NMU, which is I've already accepted the offer and I've booked the ticket, and UCT, and it lands on Cape Town, UCT. I'm like, okay, I'm going. Now I have this BlackBerry old device and I don't have a place to stay at or anything. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to Cape Town, right? I messaged one of my cousins on the way and I'm like, oh, I'm coming to Cape Town, been accepted at UCT, but I don't have raise or anything. And that's where the journey begins. But like, flipped a coin. And now I'm on my way to Cape Town. How random, but it is what it is.
When did you leave for Cape Town? When did you leave for Cape Town?
So it was in January. It was in January. I came here, didn't have a place to stay, stayed with my cousin. My parents were like, Oh, at that time my dad was like retired. And obviously, because of the missing middle question, and this is very like interesting and particular to me because I come to university at a very interesting time, right? And this is not because the question or like people were not like particularly asking these questions before 2015, right? Because you have Wusu, right? Um, Protesting for fees to fall. Yeah. So I come at a very particular time whereby at UCT they're talking about roads must fall, and then the conversation goes into fees must fall. And I am coming from a background whereby my dad is a teacher by profession, but he has this big extended family and he has to provide and he can't pay for school fees and all of these things and he's retired. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to the best institution in Africa, but I can't pay for anything. I can't pay for rent because Cape Town rent is too expensive. I can't pay for registration. I can't pay for tuition. It's difficult, but I'm here. At least I have a place to stay, and I'm going to start building from there. So I don't know. I feel like it was, fate. Yeah, fate, exactly that. Whereby you come and then certain things unfold. Because now when I came 2015, I was like, yo, guys, I'm just trying to find my feet. I'm trying to find my way. And then, boom, roads must fall. And I'm like, okay, I feel like this is what I have been waiting for like the rest of my life. Because I've always been interested in politics and history and the law. And now you're having these like young people who are standing up against the system, and I'm like, where do I find myself in all of this? Yeah. First day in class, maybe not, but first day of orientation, yes. So first day of orientation, got to campus, and then they do this like, I don't know, weird like orientation like activities, yeah, whereby you play games and you're orientated about like sex. No, but UCT does that, and like all the classes and how to find your way through campus and all of those things. But I don't particularly remember my first day in class, but I think I particularly remember my first day in like my maths lecture, because we were doing a bit of like probability, and now I was accepted for psych, and I did not expect to be doing mathematics. I was like, yo guys, what is this? I was never ready. It was never my thing. I did not want to do it, and I felt so nervous. But in humanities, like there's a lot of like stuff, like because I was a double major coming to UCT in psych and English languages and literature. I don't particularly remember the first days, but I remember how I felt in my first year. It felt like, yo, everyone else here is so smart. I don't think I could ever be able to live up to, right? And when you have those initial talks with people, it's like, which school did you go to? Luckily, I went to St. James, so abantu bebecabanga ukuthi abo St. Mark's and St. Anne's. I was like, I went to St. James, and they thought that I went to like some elite private college of sorts. Yeah, but even, can you imagine English as a language, which was like my favorite subject in high school and in junior? I go into like class in my entire first year at UCT, and I'm like, yo, why do I not think like this? Ever? Like, what am I missing? Like, can I swear here? Like, what the fuck? I'm like, what the actual fuck? Like, people are expressing ideas and like thoughts and things that I have never even imagined to like think of. Like, encompassing something in your mind, yeah, and then articulating it. I was like, no, there's no such thing, So it was very difficult for me because I had to do like double extra reading, and then it made me feel like the things that I knew, it was like, no, but like, it's a lie, you don't know those things. Do you get me? So like, once you're out of class and you take that other double class, you need to go home, read up, and then double Google everything, so that you're on the same pace as everyone else. I started to feel comfortable maybe in my third year, because the space was different. It was very white. For me, it was very, I don't know how to express this, apparent when I came here that, okay, this space, it was not designed for me. Yeah, but not for me. Now I'm an intruder or an outsider that's coming in, and now I have to, what's the particular term? I forgot. But I need to fit in. Yeah, but I need to catch up with the space. Yeah, I need to integrate. I need to fit in with the space. Yeah. So I mean, like, you make friends.
Yeah.
You make friends, and I think what made it easy at the time was the fact that there was fees. Roads must fall. 2015, actually. Roads must fall, and then you're like, this is the talk of the town. Oh, scandalous! Roads must fall. Like, people are actually going against the system. And then you start to make friends, because it's a thing of like identifying, right, with people who feel the same way that you're feeling. But also outside of that, I had to make friends. So I just made friends, and I was like, okay, I am going to work with what I have. Yeah, well, I'm gonna work with what I have. Like, this is it. I can't go back home now. And that's how I learned how to integrate with the system. Because at the end of the day, it could never be like the place that I came from. It could never be like the Eastern Cape. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So you just try, but let me make it work. I made friends. Friendships that I have sustained for years, to this day. In fact, to this day, I've sustained most of the friendships. So, getting into the scandalous questions. Coming into university, in my head, before I got here, I was like, American Pie, everything is happening. It's going down, the parties, everything. And it lived up to my expectation, right? Obviously, like, it's South Africa, there's no sorority, like, houses and stuff like that. There's no, yeah. So there were societies and whatnot, and I had made friends, and we were going out, and we were doing the most. Whew, child. It was a crazy and like wild ride, but I enjoyed every moment of it. Like, we've had some crazy like times. I remember this one time. Should I be saying this on camera? My friend and I, like, she's one of my best friends. So she's from Korea. And then like we had a hammered night. We came back to my place, and then she was like, "Oh girl, I'm going to Africa Burn." And I was like, "Me too, okay." And then we bought a ticket for myself from this guy who was in San Francisco at the time and who couldn't make it. And we wake up the next day and I'm like, "Ah, what?" You know, when you're looking at your emails and I'm like, "What? I bought a ticket. This is my bank balance. I'm going to Africa Burn. We're going to Africa Burn." Like, what? Went on campus, submitted. Um, the bus ride left me because can you imagine? I wasn't prepared for anything, right? When Africa Burn, it's nice, humunati, and we're having a beautiful experience. But it's like those crazy random experiences that make like the whole journey worthwhile, you know, and beautiful. But I've had a lot more crazy nights, which I will not be sharing on camera because